checked in on the chat box.
Okay, okay. Great. Okay, well, very warm welcome to Meditation Night. Thanks for coming and making this meditation night, making it an evening. As I say, what we're going to do is the mindfulness of breathing. So I'll just say a little bit about working in meditation, working with the mind, specifically working with thought, how to do that, which is a bit of an art. Meditation is a bit of an art. But yeah, I'll just explore a little bit how to do that, and then we'll meditate, we'll do it, we'll explore it in experience. And if there's any questions coming out for you about this area, just type them in the chat box. Actually, you could do that before we meditate. You could do it even whilst I'm talking if you're worried about forgetting something, and we'll pick it up at the end. That even helps us actually, because there's a bit of time delay in between me inviting you to write in questions and the questions sort of coming through. Yeah. So that's the format. So yeah, working with thought in meditation. Not infrequently, actually less now, but you used to hear that meditation's all about blanking your mind. Sometimes you'd hear people say that, it's about blanking your mind, so sort of getting rid of thought. Thought is bad, can be the sort of conclusion of that way of thinking, but I don't think that's a helpful way of thinking about thought in meditation. I think a more helpful way of thinking about thought in meditation is to become more discerning about what sort of thought is going on. And Buddhism is really interesting like this because it's got more than one word for thought. So it's got the word prapancha, and it's got vitakka vichara. Now, vitakka vichara is sort of helpful thought. I've never found an entirely sort of satisfactory translation of what that word means, but let's just call it helpful thought. And then prapancha is the opposite of that. It's this sort of kind of ruminatory thought. So perhaps an example of a helpful thought in meditation, you might just go, "Ooh, I wonder if I'm more anxious than I realise." That's a kind of helpful thought because it takes you into the meditation. It refers directly into your experience. It helps you become aware. If you then start to kind of ruminate, "Oh yeah, I'm always getting anxious, and oh, last time I got anxious, it went really bad," and that is going into prapancha. That is going into sort of rumination. So that is what we're distinguishing from kind of helpful thought. So this ruminative, kind of cyclic thought that keeps coming back, this sort of automatic thinking that we can't actually stop, it's happening sort of despite us. That's what we're calling prapancha. So what we're really trying to do in meditation is just to become more discerning, to discern, okay, what sort of thought is going on? Is it prapancha? And actually throughout our day, if we can do that, it will help our meditation practice. It's oh so familiar, isn't it? That sort of way of thinking. You're just walking down the street and you're kind of lost in thoughts. The thing is, it can seem quite harmless. It can seem inconsequential. Nobody else can see what's going on, the ridiculous thoughts kind of reading through your head. So it can seem inconsequential, but it's not. It's not. It does have consequences, that sort of thinking. And for that reason, for not being able to see the sort of consequences, it's tricky to, I'll say a bit more about the consequences in a minute, but it's tricky to work with. I think what we need to do to work with it is to really sort of have a sense of what lies beyond that sort of strata of the mind, that oh so familiar habitual state that we're in a lot of the time. And it may be that you're someone who's not particularly discursive, mentally discursive. You're thinking, this doesn't count for me. It's not true. It does. I'm not particularly mentally discursive. You may be more emotional. I'm more sort of predominantly emotional. And so I don't have a lot of discursive thought, but I'm still in prapancha. So this can be hard to see. You can just be sort of in a mood, a particular mood, and you're thinking, oh, there's not much thought going on. but that's because we're not aware of it. Actually, there will be thought going on, just little bits of thought. It's a little bit like some sort of deep fish kind of surfacing. You can just see the flick of the tail and then it's gone again. You hardly notice it. It's almost sort of, well, it can be just below the level of consciousness, this sort of thoughts going on. So actually we're all, most of the time, ordinarily in this state of prapancha at some level. It may be very discursive, it may be relatively quiet. So what we need to do is get interested in the possibility that lies beyond that ordinary, rather limited state of mind. Interestingly, the Buddha, one of the epithets of the Buddha was nisprapancha. The Buddha was completely outside of that state of mind, beyond that state of mind. He was sort of untouched by that habitual sort of thought-cluttered state of mind. So he was called nisprapancha. And we all have moments of this. So it may be when you're listening to music. I've been listening to music recently, enjoying bits of music, and you know that moment where you just get absorbed in the music, or after a film, you've been to the cinema. At the end of the cinema, you're really absorbed in the film. Suddenly it stops, and you're sort of left in this enriched, kind of more whole, concentrated state. But there's no thought. There's no thought. But it's not sort of. I think one of the reasons why it's helpful to consider this state is because we tend to overvalue thought in the West. We tend to even identify our thoughts are me. What would happen if we stopped thinking? But actually, we've got this experience of moving beyond thought, nisprapancha, and it's more rich. It's a more whole experience. We're more sort of wholly present, and it's kind of imbued with meaning as well. You know, that lovely mood you can be in just at the end of the film, that you don't really want to be sort of moved out of. People start getting up and kind of want, and you just want to sort of stay and listen to the film. Well, that is what this state is. You've actually moved slightly beyond this ordinary state of prapancha. What I suggest we do in the practice, I keep leaning over because the camera's sort of looking there, get drawn by the camera. What I suggest we do in this practice is take an interest in what lies beyond our ordinary state of mind. Now, as I say, you might be someone for whom you don't get very discursive meditations. What I can do, therefore, is not really move out of that state, because I think, oh, it's all going pretty well. Yeah, there's a lot of thought here and everything, but you don't sort of get interested in moving out of that state, moving into a deeper state of concentration, moving towards nisprapancha. So what we'll do is in the practice, in the mindfulness of breathing, we'll get curious about what lies beyond this sort of thought-cluttered state that we ordinarily live in. And as I say, it's not inconsequential. That sort of state we live in is what really happens when we sort of never quite find the words as to how to sort of put this, but we sort of go into neutral when we're in this prapancha. When we're in prapancha, our habits sort of, you can think you're thinking, can't you? And then you try and stop, and thoughts keep going. Well, actually, you're not thinking; you're being thought. We're actually being driven by our mind. Prapancha is a sort of driven state, and it's driven by our habits. So what we're really doing is we're giving free rein in that state to our habits. So what happens is those habits deepen, and we'll find sooner or later that our experience will close down. Our experience will be more closed down. So it's in that state that our mind is in a reactive or automatic sort of mode. So it will mean that at some point we're just going to respond automatically. Actually, we are already responding automatically. It's not immediately apparent, is it, sometimes, that we're responding automatically. And then that spiky email comes in and you just react automatically. Well, that's because we're in a state of propuntia. It might be quite a pleasant state for a while, but then the email comes in and you realise the consequences of sort of going into neutral. So what we've really done in propuntia is we've sort of we've let go of, we've sort of given up the dignity, the human dignity, that distinctively human dignity of being able to choose how we respond. That's really what lies beyond this sort of state of propuntia. So that's what we're really trying to cultivate. So it's quite significant, kind of moving out of this realm of thought. If you're thinking, God, I get loads of thoughts all the time in my meditation, don't worry. It's more about learning how to, what we're going to focus on is how to work with that thought. So I think the way I suggest we do that, well, actually always the way out of that, the first step is coming back to the body. So in the body, we can kind of we can step out of that state of propuntia. So if that thought's going on, just come back into the body. Thoughts will probably continue, but you're not sort of standing in the thoughts, investing in the thoughts, putting energy into the thoughts. If you come back into the body, you can start to do something about it. So that's what the mindfulness of breathing is. It sounds like you're focusing on the breathing, but hey, the breathing happens in the body. So what we're focusing on is the body. Yeah, the mindfulness of breathing is a very, very physical practice. So that's what we're going to do. And the way I've been doing this of late is just going back to the stages and the counting. Because when I say we're going to focus on the body, one thing about this is we can't do that in a forced way. Well, you can do that in a forced way, but it'll just mean at the end of the meditation you'll relax your effort, it will be a bit of a strain, and you won't have changed your mind. Your mind will just pop back into the state it was before. So instead of just sort of forcing it, what we need to do is get interested in the body. And that we do by taking an interest. So in the first stage, we count after the out-breath. So let's just really take an interest in the effect that has. Someone was saying to me, I was listening to someone talking about this, how it sort of it focuses our attention on the out-breath. Let's just notice if that's the case. Whilst we're attending to the physical experiences, let's just notice if that's what's happening. That way, we can take an interest in what's actually happening. In the second stage, just noticing, is that what happens when we count before the in-breath? Does it sort of focus our attention on the in-breath? And if so, what is the quality of that? What is the quality of the in-breath as opposed to the out-breath? What sort of effect does it have focusing on the in-breath? And then in the third stage, very simply, we'll just follow the whole process of breathing, right through the turn, from the in-breath to the out-breath to the in-breath, and keeping it very, very physical, so our focus being on the whole body breathing. We'll just sort of take an interest in that experience. And then in the last stage, I was listening to someone talking about this, again, which got me interested in it. The point is that we're taking a more subtle focus of the breath, so just where the breath sort of enters the nostril or the upper lip. And this means you need to sort of make your awareness slightly more subtle as well. Yeah, so that's why we take a more subtle. It's just a sort of encouragement, a slight challenge, just to tune our awareness up to greater subtlety. So let's just take an interest in that sort of process. So that's what we'll do, and we'll be doing this out of a broader interest, just to see what lies beyond. We'll see if we can slightly free ourselves from this oh so familiar strata of the mind, sort of thought clutter to propuntia, sort of strata of the mind, and see what happens. Just get curious about that. Great. Okay. Well, let's get into meditation posture. So I'll ring the bells for the 4 stages. And when you're ready, just closing your eyes, and I'll lead us through the body scan to start off with. So with your eyes closed, just giving yourself time to become aware of your inner world, the sort of buzz of awareness, noticing where your awareness is kind of focused in the body. Is it in your head or your heart center, your belly? Just giving yourself time to become aware of that. So feeling the sensations, the physical sensations of your experience. Letting them emerge more vividly into your awareness. Can you feel the body breathing? Really important that we give ourselves time at this part of the meditation, start of the meditation, to get interested in the actual physical experience. Noticing any discomfort, and also any sense of comfort or pleasure, even if it's just a sense of ease in the belly or some part of the body. And as we're doing this, becoming aware of the tenor of your thoughts. You got any propuntia chattering away? And if you have, that's great. We can learn this evening to work with it. And having a sense of your mood, your overall mood. Are you feeling a bit closed down and flat, heavy, or quite buoyant, or somewhere in between? Just becoming aware of it as it actually is, right now. Watching out for any assuming it should be different or wishing it was different, judging. Let's just welcome it all in. And now becoming aware of the contact with the ground, this tangible sense of a cushion or chair pushing up, supporting us. So we can rely on that completely. Just see if you can give the weight of your body over to that support a little bit more. Release control of the body. You don't need to do anything. Gravity does its own work. So feeling the contact with the feet and the ground. So where is it you experience that contact most vividly? In the feet. And then aware of the lower legs, the actual sensation. Noticing how it's sort of shimmering. Don't really experience it as static. It sort of shimmers. Well, that's the actual experience. And then the knees, noticing the actual experience of the knees. And your thighs, the fronts of your thighs. How is the sensation shimmering right now in the fronts of your thighs? Are the muscles tight and dead, or alive and relaxed, somewhere in between? And the backs of the thighs. And your bottom on the cushion. And then if you just rock very, very slightly forwards and backwards, see if you can find the life in those big muscles around the spine, the back and the belly, that hold up the torso. Just rocking very, very gently so that those muscles are freed up, not stiff, but alive. And then letting the spine express its upward curving kind of shape naturally. So following that up the back. So see if you can relax into a state of openness and alertness in the torso. Let the shoulders fall away from the ears. Let the upper arms be long, the elbows heavy. And then just very gently tucking the chin in so that the crown of the head tends upwards effortlessly. Letting the expressions of the day wash away. And now, just sitting, doing nothing, becoming aware of the sensations of breathing. Again, giving yourself time for those to become more prominent in your awareness, even exploring where do you experience the sensations of breathing most vividly. Mindfulness of breathing. So here we're just going to add count at the end of the out-breath. All in the spirit of adventure, to move out of the domain of prapancha. So just noticing, becoming aware of if the counting, the end of the out-breath, makes you more aware, focuses your awareness in the out-breath, on the out-breath. Just explore, is that true? And if you've got thoughts whizzing off, that's fine. See if you can just keep breathing with the thoughts. Let the thoughts do what they want. Breathe with them. So it's not a test. All we're trying to do is take an interest in the physical sensations of breathing. So whatever you're doing, exploring if it's helping getting interested in the actual sensations of breathing. So does the counting after the out-breath tend to amplify your awareness of the out-breath? Just seeing if that's the case. And if so, what's the mood that attending to the out-breath has? And now counting just before the in-breath. taking an interest in what sort of effect that has. And if and when you wander off into thought, it's just coming back into the body and exploring what's going on underneath the thoughts in the body. And particularly looking out for any moments of concentration. Might just be for one breath, you're suddenly a bit more absorbed in this state of nisprapancha, moving towards nisprapancha. Just really celebrating that moment if it happens. Might be the only one in the meditation, that's fine. So watching out for extending the counting over the whole of the in-breath, whole of the out-breath. Just, if you like, think in terms of saying one and your attention straight back on the breath. Say the number, don't think it. Obviously, not out loud. Just enjoying any moments where we move out of this ordinary state of mind, state of prapancha. So now in the third stage, see if you can follow the whole of the in-breath as it turns into an out-breath and round the other corner into an in-breath. Just having a sense of the whole body breathing in and breathing out. Letting the body do the breathing. Just release any sense of control. Let the body decide when the breath changes, in-breath to out-breath, out-breath to in-breath. And we're doing it like this just to see if we can get interested in the actual physical sensations of breathing. Any moments of interest, just really enjoying those, taking encouragement from those. And then with this overall sense of the body, the fourth stage, we're going to find a point of finer experience of the breath, the sensations of breathing. Let's see if you can rest your attention on the breath on the upper lip or wherever it is. Just as a little challenge in this last stage to attune our awareness to a more subtle focus of attention. Now, as we come towards the end of the practice, dropping any effort that you're making and sitting completely still in this really important stage of no effort. Allowing the fruits of our efforts to well up into our experience under their own steam. You can't know the effect of your efforts. So you have to give time for it to fruit. so we've just got a little bit of time to see how you got on with the practice, anything you struggled with. Did anyone go mad with thoughts streaming through the head and couldn't make any progress? Do tell us about that. Any questions that come up? Any experience, little moments of moving out of ordinary consciousness, ordinary mode of consciousness of prapancha? I haven't done any of these YouTube classes for a wee while. It's a very particular experience, trying to sort of get a sense of you all. And talk about meditation. I'm getting there, I think. Next week I'll be there.
I like the little image you gave at the very beginning of the catching the tail of the fish.
Oh yeah.
I just thought that was really helpful, because you can sometimes just, or sometimes I get into think of like, oh, I'm doing all right, I'm not even noticing what's going on in my head. You know, like this background noise that's just there the whole time.
Yeah.
But it's only when there's like a slight absence of it, or you get something else comes up. But I like that image of like coming up from the deep or something like that. How you just notice that a bit more. What are you looking for? You know, like looking for the ripples or whatever.
Yeah. Our experience is so familiar to us, isn't it? That there are all sorts of things going on. Someone I live with was just saying, oh, yeah, I just noticed that is the part of my mind that thinks about that particular issue in my life, and it's just running on. He hadn't sort of noticed it. It's an issue in his life, but he hasn't noticed it. And so that's the challenge with the mind. It's so familiar to us that we just assume it's normal, and therefore don't even notice that it's happening. That's one of the great challenges, to start to notice those little flickers of thought that are actually sort of defining our life in some way.
Got a few comments and a question. So Vidyasaki's just said, as she came out of meditation, she's able to enjoy the quality of light in the room with more subtle awareness. Just a simple but deeply enjoyable pleasure.
Great.
And Jeanette's would like to ask a question about why we pay attention to the breath on the tip of our nose. She says, I lose the plot every time at that section because I can't feel anything. What should I be doing?
Great. Thanks for sharing that, Jeanette. Nice to hear from you. I didn't know you were here. That's quite a common experience. It's quite a common experience. And what it's about is it's this thing of our awareness in a way needing to attune, needing to sensitize further. So what it is that we lose a sense of the breath because the sensation is too subtle for the nature of our awareness. So that's why it's a challenge. You have to, in order to stay with the breath at that point, wherever it is, the top lip or whatever it is, that more subtle sensation, you need to sort of just sensitize, attune your awareness to a more sort of sensitive sort of level. So that's what's going on in that stage. And it may be that you feel that you're not quite ready for that, in which case you can drop back to the other stages. That's totally fine. That's working creatively. But that's the opportunity of that stage. It's an opportunity just to take your awareness to a deeper, more subtle level. So that's what it's about. So yeah, you're not alone at all in that. That's what tends to happen. Just see if you can instead work with trying to sort of sensitize your awareness of those sensations. If you can't, that's fine. Just drop back and then try it again. After you've been doing a bit more third stage or even the counting. So that's the challenge. That's what it's about. But it's a really good question, Jack, because a lot of us experience that at times.
We've got Sed saying it's easy to get demoralised when I notice just how much I'm in my head, as it were, and not inhabiting my body.
Oh yeah. It is said, isn't it? Yeah, it is, and it's one of the problems with developing awareness. I still have to watch out for that. The more awareness you develop, the more you develop awareness of how you're not aware, if you see what I mean, or how you're not doing what you could be doing. Yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge not to get kind of demoralised, and that's why I was encouraging you to notice any moments, even if it's just one moment in a whole meditation. If you notice that, it subtly upsets your assumption that there is just one state of mind and it's reality. So actually, these little, even if for the whole meditation you're kind of you're hardly in your body, but you have one moment when you're in your body. Well, that reminds you that it's a possibility. There's people living their whole lives almost without an awareness that is a possibility. So that's what you need to really focus on, really accentuate that you've actually seen that. It can seem sort of a bit disproportionate, but actually you'll find if you do that, it'll encourage you. And if you're encouraged, you'll do it again. You'll meditate again. So it's really, really important that you kind of take encouragement from any little sort of growths in awareness, greater awareness of the body that you were talking about, for example. That's really, really important. That can make the difference between you meditating, getting a regular meditation practice up or not, because you're encouraged to do it again. And of course, if we keep doing that, you'll have a greater, if you do that for a month, you will have, every day for a month, you will have a greater experience of your body. Yeah. So I just really encourage you, Sed, with that. Yeah, again, it's a really good question.
We've got a lot of people saying thank you.
Oh, good.
And Carrie comments that she feels much more grounded after a stressful day.
Oh, good.
And didn't notice quite how much she was thinking during the body scanning until he rang the bell.
Oh, yeah.
And Shobit saying thank you, Arthasiddhi. Enjoyed the meditation. My mind kept coming back to the body sensation, and there was some thoughts wandering in the background. And felt the body being there and then also not there. And Brenda says, tonight was a joyful experience. I was able to focus on my breath without much prapancha distracting me. Thank you for the talk which helped me focus. I'm smiling inside.
Great. Thanks for that, Brenda. Yeah. It's interesting, Shobit, what you say about the body sort of coming and going. Sometimes as we get more concentrated, you can lose a sense of the body. When it first happens, it can freak you out a bit. Sort of, you can think what's going on. But it's just an aspect of getting more relaxed and more concentrated. If you just sort of relax and keep practicing, your body doesn't. Not sort of worry about it too much, but kind of stay with the physical sensations of the breath. Yeah, it's an interesting area. Great. Well, we're just coming towards the end of the class now. So yeah, thanks very much for joining us. Yeah, it's been very, very good. It's been a reminder of me of what it's like coming to meditation practice through YouTube and meeting you, kind of sharing this exploration of how to work on your mind. But I've really enjoyed your engagement with this, and it's what creates meditation night. So that's what we're trying to do with all of our activities. You have to come and participate, and it's as much you that create it. So a few other activities that I can invite you to, not tomorrow, Saturday. That is an in-person meditation morning. Is it in person?
No.
It's not in person. There was a look of
that horror of my eyes.
There is an online meditation morning. What is it? What's the time of it? 9:25.
It is. Hold on, I'm just finding it. It's 9:30 till 12:45.
9:30 to 12:45. Led by Kamalamati. She's a delight. Is Kamalamati. So that'd be a great way of just taking your practice a little bit further, looking after your practice. Still time to sign up on that. And then I'll also mention, as I mentioned earlier, I'll return to the building weekend, our relaunch day on the 24th. Come along. Some of you may have never been to the building. It would be an absolute delight to see you. We'll see how big you are. You'll see how big we are, or small. Yep. So that's on the 24th, and then we've got a festival down on the 25th as well. So do come along to those. There's a whole new world, isn't there, that's possible in person. Great as it is, as YouTube and Zoom have been for supporting us all to deepen our practice of meditation. There's a whole new world. So yeah, come and find out about that. More information is on the website, and Liz has put both of those events in the chat box. And then lastly, I'll just mention what we call dana, which means generosity. So these classes are freely given. Yep, and we do that. We do that as much as an expression or a sort of an aspect of our meditation practice. If it's just on the cushion that we practice metta, generosity, those outgoing attitudes, then it won't take us very far. But that's why we just want to do these classes for free. They're just sort of freely given. And there's an invitation there. If you want to participate more fully in this community, I'm sure you've got a sense of the value of community to meditation. Then that's a way that you can participate. That's what we're doing, and we're inviting you to give. So there's a link Liz has given. And we'd like you to do that because you'd like to do it, not because we want you to. We're not asking, we're not sort of waiting for anything in return. We're just practicing generosity as a part of our Buddhist life, part of our meditation practice. And the invitation is for you to try that out and see what effect it has. Great, okay, well that's the evening over. So very good to have you here, and see you again next week.